Okay, making Bitcoin easy. Why does Bitcoin matter? Bitcoin matters for a variety of reasons, but the reasons differ depending on who you are and your life situation. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies give people a chance to opt out of the current financial system that relies on debt and disproportionately favors the rich in almost every way. It can provide bank accounts to over a billion people on Earth. Bitcoin's benefits have the potential to improve almost every facet of our lives. It presents an investment opportunity of a lifetime that normal stock gains can't touch. And it's created an entirely new industry that continues to grow with even more sub-industries, creating even more jobs. It has a chance to reduce expenses and increase revenues for and nonprofit organizations and businesses. And it can provide the world with the first provably validated fraudulent-free elections. And that's just a start. Those are some of the biggest ones. So I'm going to take these one at a time. Starting with the first one, why does Bitcoin matter as an alternative financial system? So Bitcoin matters because it gives people the option to opt out of the current financial system. And you might say, so what? Why do we need another option? Well, it depends on where you live. What about Lebanon right now? Right now it's July 24th, 2021. It's a very bad situation, or Venezuela or Zimbabwe or even South Africa right now. If you're in a first world country, then maybe it doesn't matter so much. But then again, if you had the chance to live completely off grid, would you want to be one of these homesteaders? You can now, a lot easier with crypto. But in many of these other countries, you don't have many other choices. And Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies could literally save your family's lives. And it's been happening already in some places. If or when, historically speaking, your first world country goes completely wrong, you'll have an alternative, Bitcoin. For first world individuals or those globally considered wealthy, Bitcoin represents not only a hedge against inflation, which we've talked about, because that eats away at an average of 2 to 4% a year over 100 years. So in 1913, that $100 that you had is only worth $3.87 in 2019. So it's impossible to save. Leaving money in the bank is, you can't collect interest. And what happens if the US starts charging negative interest rates to match what other countries are doing? This would mean the bank would start to charge you to store your money. I mean, that's ridiculous. In third world countries where inflation and an ever-increasing monetary supply hurts them more, Bitcoin usage, at least on localbitcoins.com and paxful.com, is exploding. Wages are much lower in poor countries because the economies are smaller and there's less opportunity. First world country citizens earn more because they live in countries with stronger economies. So the need to use cryptocurrencies to survive is less prevalent or necessary. But there's no guarantee it's going to stay that way forever. First world countries don't always stay first world countries. Venezuela used to be one of the richest countries in the world, and it still is one of, if not the most oil-rich country in the world. It's not that way now when it comes to economically speaking. Number two, as an investment of a lifetime, you have the chance to make a great return on your investment. And let me just say again as a disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional, investment professional. However they define that. Use your own research, do your own research, use your own common sense. Every kind of investment has risk associated with it. It's just a matter of how much risk. And well, I mean, you see what the risk is. I keep talking about it. It's a risk to just put your money in the bank and save it. Ask the people from Cyprus and Greece how that worked out for them and other countries. Or Lebanon, for that matter. I brought that up a second ago. They can't get their money. That's a risk. It happened in 1929 here, the Great Depression. Anyway, all right. So why does Bitcoin matter? The second one is it does offer you a chance to make a great return on an investment, even though it is considered a very risky investment. You educate yourself. If you're patient, disciplined, and even a little lucky, because yes, luck comes into play, the type of gains you can make by investing in Bitcoin are massive. They're what I would call, or Rick Falkovich would use this and say, an order of magnitude over, which is like a 10x gain compared to what you you'd normally see in the stock market, like a 10% average increase over a year for the last 30 years. But the risk is greater too. But each year Bitcoin keeps trucking along, the risk slightly reduces, and so does the reward for investing in it. Because the more people over time who use it, get wallets, invest in it, as it's improved the code, the network processes even more transactions, the price continues to go up, but the chance of making even greater, huge spikes after that are slowly decreasing over time. So as I mentioned, when I first bought Bitcoin in 2013, nobody was talking about it. Very, very, very few people were talking about it. Nobody knew anything about it. Maybe some people had heard of the Silk Road on their periphery or Mt. Gox, but it was only the bad news that got all the press, if it got any press for that matter. However, Bitcoin and investing in Bitcoin, and this is something I preach pretty hard, is not something that you can just set and forget. And by set and forget, I mean you can't just buy some with your stockbroker and forget about it for 20 years. It requires active participation, proactive work. If you buy it on an exchange, you must look at it closely, make sure it's still there, make sure that exchange isn't under any kind of criminal investigation or class action lawsuit. You have to ensure that you continually sign into an account at least every couple months. Otherwise, you could get locked out. And there's other factors to consider that I'll talk about more in the next section, investing in Bitcoin. But if you're not willing to do at least these things, I would not recommend investing any money in Bitcoin. It takes work and it is risky, but the potential for reward and payout is very, very large. Okay, next,